She grabs my head and she pushes me down. So I turn around and I just pushed her. I ended up tearing my ACL. And then preseason, I tore it again. I think I was out for like 2.5 years. People just knew me as like Sam, the soccer player. And I just lost that and I didn't know who I was. Encouraging people like dancing, like it is serious, but like let's have a good time.
Welcome to the Winners Club podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Wilson. Today I'm here with D1 soccer player Samantha Estrada. Samantha, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Bryce.
So we're going to get into your mindset and what it's really like being a D1 athlete. But before we do, I want to talk about your journey to become a D1 athlete. So who were you as an athlete growing up?
So I grew up in El Paso, Texas, and I just spent most of the time playing with some regular club teams in El Paso. And then my dad was actually a professional soccer player and he played for the Dallas Burn. And I wanted to be exactly like him. He was a goalkeeper as well. So he was also like a high school soccer coach, like a head coach for the men's team. And I went to the same exact high school. So I was like, Dad, I want to train. I want to get better. So we trained all the time. And then someone for the Texas Rush asked her like, hey, like we really like her. We want her to be a discovery player. So I played with them. I would leave school, like my high school, for like 2 weeks at a time. I'd go live with host families and I'd play with them for 2 weeks. And then I'd go back to El Paso and I'd still do my club stuff with them. And then they asked me to move out there my sophomore year of high school and live with the host family, but I was too scared and I said no. But then the next year they asked me my junior year and I said yes. And then I lived with the host family, played for ECNL. Being in that different atmosphere of a more, I would say, quote unquote, like serious atmosphere. Like I would have specific goalkeeper training. I would have fitness coaches. Like I'd have defensive coaches instead of just one coach coaching me on anything. I would say that did help me get where I am.
In high school, you had some accolades. I think it was like goalkeeper of the year. You won some like all region goalkeeper. You had some different accolades. What do you think led to those accolades?
I think just training with my dad and my club teammates. So all my club teammates, like we all went to the same exact high school, which was amazing. Like the team chemistry was like already there. I like to have fun, whatever I do. I don't really focus on any of that, if that makes sense. Like I'm just like, if this happens, it happens. And I just do me in that aspect.
You were able to play at the U.S. Women's National Team camps. So how was that experience?
That atmosphere was insane. It just gave me a glimpse of like how professional soccer player would play all the time and like the expectations that I need to meet to be the best. And I was like, I want to keep doing this for a while. They just taught me just to have fun, basically have fun and focus on what you want and don't lose sight of what your goal is. Like if you really want it, then go get it and it's going to happen.
Were you always a fun loving person or like when did you come into your own to be yourself on the field?
I think I've just always been like that because my aspect on life and my thing is like, if I'm not having fun, I'm not enjoying it, I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? I think that's why I've been here for 6 years and and I'm still playing soccer for as long as I am because if I'm not having fun and I'm not enjoying it, I'm not going to do it. And they've just taught me like, we know when you're in those ruts and you're like, I have to do this every day. You know what I mean? Like same training, same time, same weight sessions. Like those girls just taught me like, it's okay to have fun. Like you're going to have those days, but still remember like your end goal and why you're doing this.
You mentioned you did college training for 6 years. So we'll get into year one. Why'd you choose SMU in the beginning and how was your first year there?
Actually, when I got recruited, I had no idea what SMU was. They recruited me out in California and my coach, Hondo in El Paso, was like, hey, we need to call one of these coaches, like they're interested in you. I was like, okay, cool. And I was so nervous. I've never done that before. My coach, Matt, the goalkeeper coach still here, he asked me to come out for a camp and I did. And it was amazing. Like I love him as a coach and like he's like a father figure to me. And then they offered me a scholarship and I told him yes the next week. And then just the coaches like really brought me here because I was like, they felt like they really cared about me not only as like a soccer player, but as a person. And they wanted me to get better and learn life, you know, not just as a soccer player. So the coaches, I think, really brought me here.
And getting there, how was your first year there?
It was definitely hard coming in as a freshman because we did have a senior goalkeeper and it was cool. Like we were really good friends and there wasn't any like weird dynamic between us and like or competition, but we did help each other get better. And I did play like half and half. Fall season was good until in November, I ended up tearing my ACL for the first time. At first, like I didn't know I tore it. I was like, no, like I'm cool. Like, don't worry about it. And then no, like I ended up tearing it and I like had no idea what I was in for. When we came back for my sophomore year, that summer, I partially tore it and then preseason I tore it again. So that was my second tear in the fall. So I just redshirted that whole fall and then I came back.
How long were you pretty much out for?
I think I was out for like 2.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. As an athlete, that's we want to play. So I know that's very difficult. So what were these struggles you went through and how did you get through that?
My freshman year, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I was like, I'm a pretty spiritual person and I was pretty angry with God. And I was like, why would you let this happen? Like, what's my plan now? And I gave my whole identity to soccer. And I was like, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to be. And people just knew me as like Sam, the soccer player. And I just lost that and I didn't know who I was. And I had to figure that out. And I just had like my wake up call, which was like, you are more than a soccer player. Like you're someone who like leads people, like you encourage people. I found that out my freshman year. And then my sophomore year when I was hurt again, thankfully, like I had my teammates, one of my best friends, Katina Sapos, she went through the same thing and we were injured my sophomore year together. Katina and I just pushed each other and we encouraged each other and she taught me how to like work harder in all aspects and like dedicated myself to school and like put myself into school and my teammates and not just worry about myself and who I was, like because I'm more than a soccer player.
So you had your support system and your faith. How did you learn that lesson where you're more than a soccer player?
I remember I think was laying down in my dorm bed and I was like just crying and asking God why. I was like, why would you do this? Why is this happening to me? And then the second time I was like, why would this happen again? Like I've been through so much pain and I just wanted to know why. And I would go to Bible study with like my friends or my teammates and I would talk about my injury and it was so much easier to talk about. And it was something that helped people, like it helped people get through the hard times in their life. Like if she can do this for like the second time, then I can be okay. And I think that moment was where like, God was like, this is what you're here for. And like to encourage people to get through the hardest times because you've been through so much.
After going through all that, you could say that there's value in that time period.
For sure. Yeah. I just had a total like 360, not only as like spiritually, but also as an athlete. Like I changed how I ate, how I lifted, what I did for myself and what was good for my body and my mental health as well.
You performed well on the field coming back. So what do you think led to you performing well once you came back?
I think it was the encouragement of my coaches and my teammates. I think with them and like the whole staff just encouraged me and like loving me and telling me that I can do it just really helped me.
You're a leader on the team and then just goalkeeper in general, but the nature of the position, you're pretty much a leader. So how do you lead your team?
I think I lead with my voice and my actions and just making sure my teammates are accountable. I just encourage people a lot and I use my voice in any way I can.
Are you hard on them? Like you
No.
you yelling? Or are you encouraging? Like
I like to have fun and I like to joke around, but there are times when I'm serious. I'm like, hey, like let's get this stuff done. I build relationships with people. That's who I am. And I build relationships. I'm able to joke around with them. And like, we have like our little inside jokes. I get to know them where I'm like, hey, like if I talk to this person, like I have to be careful the way I say some things. You know what I mean? So I think just building those relationships and learning about people is how I communicate and I lead them in their way.
That is good that you kind of cater to each player because every teammate is different. But how do you infuse fun into the game? Are you the pregame playlist type person? Like, how do you infuse fun into the game?
I think I'm the pregame playlist person because I'm like, I love Bad Bunny. And I'm like, we need to play some Bad Bunny or like some like Hispanic songs like reggaeton and that. And I just love to dance and just encourage girls. Like I scream at them. I'm like, hey, like, let's go, you know? Just encouraging people like dancing. Like, let's have fun. Like, it's not that serious. Like, it is serious, but like, let's have a good time. You know what I mean? We're here to have fun and get better. And I think just like we have like our little dance circle in the beginning. So, we have like our little dance moments. And I think we, like I say the cheer before we go out and then we do our little pregame rituals. And I think that's who I am, the dancer and the pregame playlist person.
That's important. I mean, that's important I think you play your best when you're having fun.
Yeah.
So that's about your story. We can talk about your mindset.
Yeah.
So off the bat, is there anything you do to take care of your mental health? You talked kind of about your faith, but what are some other practices you do to take care of your mental health?
I talk to my friends a lot about my feelings. I'm a very open person, so I have to communicate my feelings. If not, I will explode. And I think that's what happened the first time I tore my ACL. Like I was struggling so much and with like classes and like soccer, like being over, I didn't know what to do anymore and I had so much free time. So I think I was talking to my academic advisor and I was like, I literally let everything out finally and I was crying and then like right after that, she's like, why don't you like go kick a ball around like with the boys? And I'm like, okay, yeah. So I went and I ended up tearing my ACL. And I was like, oh.
Was there a moment where you talk about it builds up and explodes? Was there a moment where it exploded?
I think when I was talking to her, like I just, everything came out. And I was saying some harsh things about myself and like my others and like teachers. And I just, that was my moment where I was just like,
and that's when you realize like I have to talk to people.
Yeah, because I can't, if I hold this in, like it's gonna happen again, and like it's just gonna mess with me.
And so that's off the field. What are some struggles on the field?
I think my freshman year when I was coming in, I was like, man, I just came from playing so much,
Right.
and like now I'm not playing as much, and I feel like I can add value to the
Mhm.
team. And I would talk to my friends about it. Hey, like, do you think I should be playing? You
Mhm.
know, like I just like want to like finding value and within them when I should have just been asking my coaches, you know
Mhm.
what I mean,
Yeah,
and
right.
communicating with them.
Mhm.
But I think that was kind of my lowest moment. Oh, COVID. Actually,
Oh, yeah.
COVID.
Right, yeah,
COVID
that's
year was
difficult.
actually really tough
Okay.
because our season got canceled.
You had those 2.5 years of injury, then you came back, and then you had COVID year?
Yeah.
Wow,
And then
that's
that
not
COVID year.
cool.
So then I was like, hey, like, do I really want to do this again
Mhm.
and again and again?
Mhm.
I think that's what I struggled with. And like, I talked to my coach, Matt, and I was like, yo, like, I don't know what to do here,
Mhm.
you know? But he helped me through it and helped me find my love again for the game, because I think those low moments, you like go into like a plateau, and that
Mhm.
plateau, you're like, how do I get out of this?
Do you do something that to regain your love for the sport? I mean, it was probably always there, but it is difficult. So do you do something specific to regain your love?
I talked to Matt about it, my
Mhm.
coach, and then we switch up drills and we like do like in more interactive things. Like I get to be with the field players, I get to play with them, but he gets all scared because he
Yeah.
want me getting hurt.
Yeah.
But like still, I like to do stuff like that and get in with them, and like not just goalkeeper specific stuff,
Mhm.
like get in with the team and play on the field with
Right.
them.
Do some things that have fun, change it up, so you're not
Yeah,
doing the same
literally
thing
just
over
have
and over.
fun and like
Okay.
play futsal. Like
Mhm.
we love playing futsal, like at
Yeah,
Deadman, like
awesome.
just something we all get to do together.
One thing about goalkeepers, though, is the nature of their position, where if you make one mistake, it's not, or you let in a goal, it's not your fault, but it looks that way because you're the
Right.
last person. So, did you ever have any games where you just kept making mistake after mistake, and how do you get through that, and how do you overcome those times where you're making a bunch of mistakes?
One of the first games I think I played was DePaul my freshman year, and the ball like went, I was like keeper like going for a corner, and it just slipped out of my hands, and the girl scored, and I was like, ah, you know, like that's just classic,
Right.
right? But my teammate, I was just like, you know what, we're winning 4-0.
So
I was like,
you
we're
weren't
winning
even stressed.
4-0.
Okay.
So I do this thing. It's kind of bad. Like not that Hope Solo. I remember Hope Solo saying it,
Right.
but like I grab a piece of grass and you just like let it go.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
it's just gone.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think that's what I do.
Yeah, it's important to have some type of practice where if you're going through the moment where you're having failures, you have some practice,
Yeah.
like you said, throw some grass behind your shoulder so you just release it. You're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
And after a game, you can address it. But during the game, you don't think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we can talk about some difficult stuff. We can talk about some positive stuff now.
Yeah.
What was the game where like you were in the zone and you were playing lights out? And what do you think led to those moments?
We were playing ECU. We ended up losing,
Mhm.
but I think it was one of my better games just because I wasn't thinking about anything. I was just playing. I was
Mhm.
playing free. When I think I do well, I don't think about things. I just do it. I'm just like in the moment, and I don't think about anything else.
Is there a way you get to that moment where you got school, you got these things to think about? How do you get into the moment where you're not thinking about anything else?
I ask God to let go, and I'm like, I do like my little pregame prayer, and I do my ritual, and I'm like, okay, you're more than a soccer player. This doesn't matter. It does matter, but you're more than this. And I do my thing, and I take a deep breath, and I just like let it all go. And like when I release that breath, it's like all your worries are gone. Like you're here in the moment, be in the moment.
That's a good practice. That might be easier to do in a regular game. What was the most pressure you felt in the game, and how did you deal with that?
We were playing OU last year, and we tied them. And that crowd was insane. And I couldn't even hear myself yelling, you know? Having that trust between my teammates, I think really helped. And like us all being on the same page really helped with all of that.
How'd that game go? Or is it, well, it doesn't matter about the score, but did you played well though? You still able to block everything out?
I almost got in a fight that game.
okay.
Yeah, my emotions did take over that
Okay.
game. I'll be honest with you.
Uh-huh.
One thing about me is like respect. Like you got to respect me. And this girl just didn't show respect. And she got a red card at the end of the game. So it just shows.
Tell us the story of what happened.
Okay. So the second half just started, and it's a through ball, and I'm just gonna go and collect it. I go collect it. I like scoop it up, and like my body's on the ground. She grabs my head and she pushes me down. And I'm like, oh hell
Yeah,
no.
no, that's right.
So I turn around, and I just wasn't even thinking. My mind and my body just like let loose, and I just pushed her. And then she was backing up. She's like, whoa, whoa. She was scared of me.
She wasn't
She
expecting
was
that.
scared of me. And then my teammates got me, and they controlled the situation.
So you didn't get a red card? Have you
I
gotten
got a
red card
yellow.
before? You got a yellow? Okay.
I've actually gotten so many red cards
Really?
when I was in high school
Oh,
and
in
in
high school?
club because
Okay.
I just talk so much. I just like to get in people's heads, and I talk to the referees, which the referees don't like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's just who I am. I like to talk. And in high school, I did get a lot of reds where I like would slide out, but I don't trust those referees
Yeah,
in
no, you
high
can't.
school.
Yeah, you
So
can't.
I did get a lot of red cards for
No,
talking.
I understand. But do you think that controlling your emotions, is that a weak point in your mindset?
Yeah, that is actually one of my weaknesses that I have, is not controlling my emotions, because I do have a hard time with my emotional intelligence. And my teammates like Katina and Courtney have helped me learn a lot throughout college. They've taught me so much how to control my emotions and how to deal with them. Like I can't just do this because I'm mad. I have to think about like how this would affect the other person, because I just act, you know, without thinking. And they've taught me a lot.
That's a good point. That reminds me of the, remember the Draymond Green situation where he punched his teammate? I don't know if you heard that, but so after that, he said that to help him control his emotions, realize who he represents. So he impacted his teammate, he impacted himself, his family, the club, the organization. So if he can think about that in the moment, then it'll help him back from acting out. So is that something that might help you, or do you think about that when, like, who you represent whenever you're out there?
Yeah, all the time. Like everywhere you go, you're representing your school anytime. So I think just thinking about that and having that in the back of your mind really helps me. I think like that, them helping me, like my friends, and like they just are like, hey, like think about that, think about who you're representing and why you're doing it. Like, cause like I don't think about the actions ahead. I just live in the moment. And they're like, think about how this is gonna affect you in the future. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Is there maybe some little girls that come out and watch you play? Is that something that also helps you play better, or helps you understand who you represent that aspect too?
Yeah, because I coached a lot of them during the summer. So they're like, Coach Sam, what are you doing? I'm like, you're right.
Yeah, you're right. I'll stop. But it is difficult. It's a practice. Like you can't, you can't just understand this and now have to improve it. So is there a way for you to work on it consistently?
I think just, it's kind of sucks, but like a lot of getting tested a lot, you know what I mean? Like going through situations where I have to test my emotions and how I'm going to deal with that.
It seems like you're an optimistic person where you always find like the good out of any situation, whether you're talking about the injury or this situation where you're still finding some value. So how do you carry that mentality? Is there a mantra? How do you carry that mentality throughout your day in life?
I think my dad really taught me. He was like, why are you going to be angry? Like, what's the point? If you're going to be sad and angry, like, why? You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, he's like, control the controllables and what you can control. And if you can't, then you can't. You know what I mean? And he just like basically taught me, why would you waste your time on that? You know? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, why would I? You know, like that's in the past. Like deal with it in that moment, like the grief and all of that, which I do, but then move on. Something that I think about a lot is like when I don't know if it's like the verse, but it's like the enemy likes to see you like grow angry and like all that stuff. And I'm like, I don't want the enemy to control me like that. You know, so I'm gonna just do me and like God, you know?
Yeah, when you're angry, like you're not in control, like you're not in control of your actions. So it's important like to try not to be angry. But do you have a practice for like, do you journal, or do you have any like reflection practices?
Yeah, I do journal a lot. I love to just write everything and write how I feel, like my raw emotions. So I do journal a lot, and I like type on my computer, or like I said, like I'll just vent. Like I'll vent to my friends.
I used to journal, but this day and age, I'm not gonna write down anymore.
Right.
So I'll just type. But yeah, it's a good way to get your thoughts out of your head, and then you can look back on it and be like, okay, I thought that was really important that time, but this time now it's not that big.
Exactly. I have something on my notes app, but like I lock it. So I lock it and then I don't look back at it.
Good. Okay, so are you gonna look back at it in maybe a couple of years? Do you do that, or you just don't want to look at it
I
at
do
all?
look at it like a couple years, like in a couple years. So it started with my freshman year when I got hurt.
Okay.
So then I would look back on it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so sad. Like, you know, like I'm in such a better place now. And like those toxic people aren't in my life anymore. Like, thank God for that, you know?
How do you cultivate a good inner circle?
I think you just like have to go through it. You know what I mean? Like you want to build a trust with this person, and like for like you build trust with these people, and like they're part of your life for a really long time, and then you realize like in those moments like they're not really the best people to surround yourself with, and the people that have been stick by your side the whole time, you know?
How do you realize that? Is that when you're journaling, you kind of start to realize maybe, hey, when I'm around this friend, this always holds me back, or they talk about this? Like, how do you realize that?
I think just a reflection, like when I'm journaling about it, I'm like, that wasn't like the right thing to do. Like even those friends like putting you in those situations, you're like, I shouldn't be in this situation. You know what I mean? Like this is who I am. It may be who you are, but it's not who I am, and it's not gonna make me better. So I think just really reflecting on that and be like, okay, like it's my time to step away, you know? Because like people at the end of the day do show their true colors, and it's just like, at that point, are you going to stick with it or are you not? And I'm like, I'm not going to stick with that behavior.
Or having the self-respect to say no, cut them out.
Yeah, exactly.
What's important is like saying no.
I think just like I said, like before, like thinking about your future, like, is this going to really give me some value in my life, or is it just going to give me some value for like a night? What's going to happen at the end of the day? You know, like for me to get better, especially like my family and like my friends back home, like being like an inspiration to them, you know?
Okay,
yeah.
You partner with Sam's Club for having the name Sam. So can you talk about like NIL deals? Do you think it's net positive, and obviously it's beneficial, getting some payment from it, but Is it a net positive or is it very stressful to deal with that?
I think it's positive.
Mhm.
I didn't really have to
You
do
didn't do much?
much.
Okay,
Yeah,
alright.
like,
That's
which
good.
was
That's
really
nice. Yeah,
nice,
it's
you
nice.
know?
Okay.
And it was awesome, like good experience. And like I met other Sams from other universities, which was cool.
Like just on Zoom when you met you.
Yeah, like we have like
Okay.
text like group
Okay,
messages
cool.
together, which was
Sam-
cool.
Sam
And I was
group
like,
chat?
hey, what's up?
Yeah,
You know?
Sam.
Like, I also worked for an NIL like fan mobilization company, which was really cool. And I did an internship with them and I helped reach out to other athletes. I was like, hey, like we can get you NIL deals and we can like get you your own merch and we can do this and that. And so I would sign them up for that. And I have my own merch shop with them, and which is so cool. And like my friends have supported it and all my
Nice,
family.
nice.
Yeah, which I think is cool.
Yeah. So is it cool having people walk around with your shirt on or something?
Yeah, like
Okay.
my friend Jalen, he used to play football here. He bought a shirt, and I was like, I saw him wear it. And I was like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that's my
that's me.
shirt.
That's me.
It was so cool to see, and like I incorporated like my heritage and where I came from,
that's
so
cool.
like within the T-shirt. And so I was like, yeah, and like my coaches love it. They're like, I love it. It's so cute,
Right.
and I'm like, thank you. I love it too,
Yeah.
right? And it just shows like who I am and what I stand for, and like it's so cool seeing my stuff being worn.
Where can people find it?
Yeah, it's on my Instagram. It's on my bio. Just go there, and I have like a story highlight. You can just purchase it there. I have like water bottles, a T-shirt, a long sleeve, a hoodie. Yeah,
Got a whole store. Okay.
I got a whole store.
So now we can get our last. I call it the final five. These are the last
Okay.
final 5 questions I'd like to ask all the athletes. So the first one is, what's a misconception about being a D1 athlete?
The time management, like I think like you think it's all nice and dandy, like oh like it's just sport, but it's like you have to like do school too.
How did you deal with the time management? How did you learn to?
Well, I didn't deal with it well
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
ended up getting hurt and I
Mhm.
exploded on my academic advisor. But I
Mhm.
think after that, I just like got the help that I needed because I was like, there's no way I can do this by myself.
Right.
So I think I just reached out to my resources and I was like, how do I do this? I need help with this, this, and this.
And the second one is, what's the worst conditioning workout of your career?
I'm a goalkeeper, so I don't like to run. One time, our coach made us do like 100 yards, and then you jog back 50, and then you walk 50, and then you like keep going.
What's the best memory of your careers?
Signing with SMU
Okay.
with my
Awesome.
dad
Yes,
because my dad was there for that. Because he trained me my whole life and taught me everything I knew about soccer, and he was there for that. And I think that really helped me because we're the only two to like go to college in our family, and he played at Belhaven, and then he went pro or whatever. So I think in that moment it was like one of my
Right.
favorites.
You came full circle, like he trained you up your
Yeah.
whole life, and then you were able to see that.
And
That's
he's like my best friend.
That's great.
so.
What's some advice you can give to a high school athlete that wants to play college?
Have fun and let go
Mhm.
because you are more than a soccer player.
Mhm.
Like it's just not all about that. I know it may seem like that in the moment, but you are more than that
Mhm.
because your coaches do care about you as a person and they care about your health and your well-being. And like if you want to go be a pro, like you're gonna be it at the end of the day. You know what I mean? If you if you go through all that hard work, I think it will all work out in the end. If you love what you're doing. And like I know people worry about being burnt out because in those moments it does happen, but just remember why. Remember your why.
And last one is, how would you define the word winner?
I think knowing that when I did the best that I could, despite the outcome, I know that I played the best of my abilities.